Okay, welcome everyone to this webinar about partner contribution indicators. I'm your host, Sandra Koutzenko, and I'm the Director of Training Services at 365 Talent Portal. So as such, I've spent the last 6 years leading the delivery of career and training solutions focused on Microsoft Business Applications. And with me today is Andrew Bourne, who's Senior Partner Technology Strategist at Microsoft. And for the past 4 years, he's been focusing on supporting partners to develop their Microsoft practices. So together, we will guide you through the criteria that make up the partner contribution indicators. And we're going to give you an understanding of what it is you need to do in order to reach silver or gold competencies under the new system. So there will be 2 parts to this webinar. First, Andrew is going to take you through PCI as a whole. What are the criteria? What is the spirit of PCI? How are the criteria measured? And then I will take you through a deep dive into the capability criteria to give you a full understanding of the certification exam requirements that you will need to meet. There will be a Q&A at the end of the webinar, so if you have any questions that come up as we are presenting, feel free to type them in the chat and we'll address them at the end. Now, before handing over to Andrew, I'd like to say a few words about us, 365 Talent Portal. Andrew, you've just taken over, I believe.
I've changed that. Yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
Let me see whether I can get
Sorry,
this.
I do apologise, everyone. That was me.
No worries at all. All right, so I was about to say a few words of introduction about 365 Talent Portal. So we're a Microsoft Learning partner. We're also a career and hiring portal, so we're offering the whole range of career development services around Microsoft technologies. And Microsoft technologies are our focus. So we have years of expertise working on training and content partnerships with Microsoft and with Microsoft partners. And unlike most other learning partners, our journey in the Microsoft system started with Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Microsoft Power Platform. And we've had almost 7 years of exclusive focus on these products. We also work with Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365. And our other distinguishing feature is that we have a really strong and really wide network of top Microsoft certified trainers, several of whom are also MVPs. Now let's dive into PCI. Andrew, over to you. So this time you
Hopefully I do it right this time. I do apologise. Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. You'd think working at Microsoft, I would know how to use the technology, so I apologise for that slight interruption. My name's Andrew Bourne. As Sandra said, I'm the sort of a senior partner technology strategist. All that really means is I look after a number of partners that are managed partners, especially in the area at the moment. I'm looking after those in the biz apps space, with a few of the Azure and modern workplace partners as well, to guide them through this journey, which hopefully I'm going to take you through today. Really split up my presentations around what is and why PCI, why has the competency changed, and quite a surface, if like a small delve into the what behind it all. I've also will then touch on how PCI has influenced the upcoming competency. Well, it's not upcoming, it's out now. The new small and mid-market cloud solutions competency is already on PCI, and I'll talk about the slight difference there is there. And as at the end of my slide, there's a couple of links to where you can go and find out where you are on your PCI journey, and the resources such as videos you can watch, as well as the documents that are available to you. So really, the why. The goal of any MPN competency that we have is to recognise partners in a way that drive desired outcomes for the customers and partners alike. So when it comes to technology investments, so the good outcome for a customer is ideally where the solution is successfully implemented, they quickly realise the value, and more importantly, the lifetime value of the original investment increases over time. And what that means for you, the partners, is a good outcome is when you have the ability to deliver that to the customer's needs. You build that great rapport, which means you can organically grow that account, sell more, be more profitable, And more importantly, you can take that great win and use it to win new customers because you have a referenceable site. What was recognised though, and from feedback, is under the old competency construct of the cloud business applications competency, this wasn't really happening. So what we did, a little over 2 years ago, we started hearing sort of from our top partners that the standards for attaining the competency were too low. It was consistent with what customers were saying, as well as partners who had a gold or silver competency, that the technical capability to deliver successful deployments weren't necessarily there. They could sell the product, they had a great sales engine, but weren't necessarily having the technical capability to back it up. So teams from across my division, which is the one commercial partner, as well as marketing, worldwide learning, and as well as dynamics engineering, came together to figure out what wasn't working. And we took a hard look at it. And that we involved several of our partners in that as well, in that journey, as well as customers. And more importantly, is we realized that the old construct that used revenue as a proxy for deployment, which meant partners focused on generating revenue, great. However, they weren't, in hindsight, we couldn't see that without a successful customer outcome, the unifying focal point, our construct was bound to come up short. There was no way of us saying, has it really been deployed properly? Is that the best value? Are they going to carry on and expand their investment in the Microsoft platforms? So we went back, hopefully, my slides have gone crazy as well. So we went back to customers and came up with this iterative process to go through and come up with what was PCI. The biggest shortcoming of the current competency is that it only takes into account 3 pre-sale signals: the revenue generated for Microsoft and the partner certifications. It doesn't capture any actual implementation or customers' continued usage of technology, which our most capable partners know how to drive and do well. So we wanted a more holistic system that could look at the variety of these signals across the customer journey, from the pre-sales through to implementation, through to growth, and use the telemetry that we have available to us now to see, with cloud-based applications and services, where we're able to see those metrics, and we call those PCI, or partner contribution indicators. And there are 7 of them across the sort of the circle, if you like, away from pre-sales leading into implementation the solutions, into the driving the usage. It's a journey, and they all add up to 100 points. And it's not an accident that driving usage leads to back to more pre-sales. So the more the customer embraces and uses a solution, the more likely you are to be able to sell, and therefore hopefully better to implement. So when we look at the chart here, you can see that the pre-sales maximum is 20, then 35 for implementing, and 45 for the actual usage and sort of driving the use of the solutions. So those weighting was done with feedback from the Partner Advisory Council, or the PAC, as well as our engineering and our customers, so to reflect the contribution that makes to make a successful customer outcome. So what we see now, that hopefully the customers will love the fact that now they know when they get a gold or a silver partner, they know how to implement it. They've invested in the time and skills. And for that is, hopefully, so will you as partners, because even though the system breaks from our old construct, it gives you the ability to differentiate your business in a meaningful and sustainable way. I suppose you look at, it offers you the tools and resources you need to organically grow your current accounts, allows you to win new customers while staying up to date on product technologies, along with the sort of, and I'll come to those later. But the system does that by focusing on improving the customer outcomes, boosting the customer confidence, and helping you energize your business growth. And I'll dive into those now in terms of behind the why, what makes up PCI. So the first one is improving customer outcomes. This is really all around the pre-sales journey. PCI recognizes that you want to improve the customer outcome by helping them find the right solution. To do that, we've expanded beyond just revenue to look at 2 metrics here: generate new revenue, which is about existing metric, this is the existing metric is there. This recognizes where driving revenue, this is where it's whether you sell it through an enterprise agreement, a CSP, or whether it's done directly through a customer purchased over the web from Microsoft. You can still get credit for that revenue built into the claiming partner record. So you get credit only for the non-recurring part of the revenue. So that means if you sell a 5-year enterprise agreement, you will only get credit for the first year's revenue, because that's the non-recurring part. Now, it's important improvement this year has been that the partners get that recognised. So I mentioned that claiming partner of record. That means the removes of contention where customers weren't willing to sign up and say, yes, you're doing it. You just log it in your partner centre, associate yourselves with the customer and provide proof that you're working on them. That's it. And that considerable amount of friction is now removed. So hopefully that means it's easy for you to get recognised for those points. Another change we've slightly made, and that this may confuse people about what a developed and a developing market partner is. So if you have not heard of these terms before, a developed market is defined as something like the UK is a developed market, whereas somewhere like I don't know, some of the Middle East maybe is more an emerging market, so emerging stroke developing market. So if your customer base is all in the UK, then you're a developing partner. So even if only one of your customers was in the UK, you need to be a developed partner. So you need to work to those scores. If all of your customers are in a market which is a developing market, then you have to meet the developing market scores, and they're slightly less. And I won't go into the exact numbers, but you can imagine developed partners have a higher bar to reach than the developing partners. So so for instance, if I think it's 15 in a developed market for the functional consultants, when we come onto it, in a developed market it's only 5. So currently there are 2 paths in the cloud business applications, and that stays the same with PCI. There are 2 paths: the customer engagement path and the finance and operations path stroke unified operations. So as we move forward, the other metric is worth 10 points, and it's about adding new customers. And that's regardless of the segment or the sales channel you take them from. This is different from the current, and it's a lot more flexible. So any segment, any sales channel is eligible to be counted as a net new customer. So remember that all these metrics are on a trailing 12 months. So it accounts for churn as well. So as it's calculated as customer adds and minus customers lost over those 12 months. So it also embodies the partners. You need to start tracking your competency. It's no longer at the end of the year, have I made the numbers? Yes, I'll renew. You need to track them much more closely around the business, which is probably a healthier business operations. And really, then as I go across the next one, I'll sort of click on to the driving usage. Now this, I'll start at the bottom there, the 20 points. That's about complex implementations. That talks about the growth of the usage and how to implement, taking up from a baseline of number of usage to growing it. And that's so where a large deployment may have 250 plus monthly active users compared to the grow monthly active user one, which is obviously taking it from 250 and beyond. So to get the full points for the 20 new large deployments in a developed market, that's normally adding 5 new large deployments. Growing the monthly active usage is simple across no matter which partner type you are, growing it by 25% year over year. If you were 100 users, monthly active users, you need to, by the time you get to renew over your 12 by 12 months, you need to get to 125. It's simple as that. You differentiate, but there are minimums required to open that up. So it's not like you can start really low. However, we made this worth 25% of your total partner score because we want to recognise partners who continue to drive the value of the invented solutions for their customers. Through upsell, cross-sell, training opportunities, you can quite easily see the increase the lifetime value of their investment. You don't have how to figure that alone. So we worked again with that Partner Advisory Council. We've found ways we can support you and use additional metrics to recognise those who take advantage of this support in terms of the fast track program, which is open to any silver and gold competent partner, and they've lowered the metrics for that as well. Also, the final piece is all about boosting confidence, and that's the technical capabilities. That's the final top piece, and that involves 3 metrics, and these are the ones that recognise the technical and functional skill sets within the partner set. Currently, weirdly, you have to have functional consultants that also need to have developer qualifications, which doesn't necessarily ring true of how you would normally set up your business. You'd have developers separate. So what you've done here, the first one is focused on the number of active certified functional consultants, 15 up to 15. So 15 points is the maximum you can score. It's a sliding scale. We also, as of July, 2019 released the role-based certifications for these. So a couple of them have now retired, but Sandra will go over this later. There's a set of solutions depending on the customer engagement or functional F&O path, which exams you need, but that gives you the functional consultants. I'll come back to the middle one. And the final metric there, the middle one is the developers, up to 1 to 5 developers. That's the ones that sit the exams, such as the MB500 developer exams. So that's the two core. They're both sliding scales. The one in the middle is probably the most watched one by us because this is quite keen. It recognises you're investing in, if you like, your growing consulting base. It's for you who regularly investing in the growing pool of certified functional consultants, and how you're keeping that up with your growing business. So to earn that metric, and because the PCI has been delayed from its release, that they took a baseline on the 1st of October 2020. So to earn this metric, at that date, you needed at least 15 consultants. If you didn't have the functional consultants at 15, that metric is locked out. That is the qualifier for that metric. You need to have at least 15 consultants. And then when it gets to your renewal date, they will see to whether you have grown the number of consultants. So if you had between 15 and 29 when that baseline was taken, you need to earn all 15 points. You need to have grown that baseline by 35%. So if you had 15, that's growing it by roughly 6 people or 6 certified people. So it doesn't mean that's ideally of cross training within the business. F&O functional consultants can start looking at customer engagement certifications and vice versa, as well as your investment in maybe graduate or apprentice schemes. As you go up and you get like more than 29, so between 29 and 50 consultants, it drops to a 25% growth. And then once you get over 50, your required growth goes down to 15% year on year. And a developing partner is lower again. One thing to note, if you had 50 consultants as of 1st of October, then you automatically qualify for these points for the next 2 years. That was a granted thing that we gave. But it's key to remember that when you come up to your renewal date, if your renewal date is after April, if you didn't have 15 points on 15 functional consultants in October, then you will not qualify for these points. So, and unlike the others, this is the only metric that is not a sliding scale. It's either 0 or 15 points. So it's quite tremendous. So if you do not qualify for the functional consultant growth metric, you need to get a gold competency, and I'll get to this later, you need 80 points. So in theory, you're getting 80 points out of a potential 85. Hence why there's quite a visible view from us on this to make sure how it works in the market. And to this junction, Gabriella announced about a couple of weeks ago now that because of COVID provisions, those partners that are renewing between April and June will automatically qualify for these 15 points to help with the COVID response. Basically, that's being monitored at the moment. It will only go up to the end of June. However, there are cases being placed for people that may be renewing in July, August, September, but at this point in time, it's only until the end of June. So what's the point of doing all this? So we talked about energizing business growth. What are we giving you back? 3 areas really: investing time resources in the activities. You're actually improving the meeting and exceeding customer expectations. So what we're doing is go to market. Partner benefits such as entitlements specifically for core sale benefits, co-branding, co-selling in the pre-sales phase. We're training benefits. Obviously, you get things like the internal use rights. We also get access to programs depending on your local area. They will vary, but if you need to be a silver and gold competency holder to get access to certain programs. You need to be silver and gold to get access to the fast track partners. Or fast track implementation teams, engineering, invitation to solution architect training, all these sort of things is based on the competencies. So because it's a lot harder now to get them, they're putting more effort in those and running them more often. So that, and they're looking at adding more and more. They're adding more as we go. I'll bring out Microsoft Ignite is next week, running the 2nd to the 4th. If you look at that, there is more announcements around sort of the partner stuff, as well as new outcomes of what PCI means, allow you to do this. Finally, in summary, the PCI basic score is used to measure the whole competency, a big step forward. And it's going to be a de facto, and I think this is my personal opinion. I mean, business applications has taken PCI and embraced it with all their new competencies. However, I think we're going to see this slowly move across to the other competency areas, potentially Azure, potentially modern work, if this works, because it's really driving quality of partner rather than just the sort of you can get it by easily just doing a number of people with SAMs selling some stuff. It's a lot more involved, a lot more recognition of partners that really do go above and beyond to implement their solutions, increase the value, and recognize how they invest in their teams and training, which is a big thing for Microsoft in our skills, big program that we've got to help fill that technical skills gap or the skills deficiency that we're seeing in the market. So as I mentioned, full and partial points can be earned across all metrics except the functional growth. Silver competency, you need to score over 60, and gold, you need to go over 80. And it's completely flexible. So obviously the functional growth gives you a bit more leeway, but you can score those points from all the areas. But to say that, the new way we've done this, that all comes in on the 1st of April. So as of the 1st of April, if you're renewing after that, PCI starts. It's been delayed, as I said, from October last year. So those are the points you need. However, we've started a new solution area, a new competency called the Cloud Business Application SMB option. It appears in the cloud small and mid-market competency area. And this is using PCI out of the date. So this was released the end of January. And it is based on the same sort of PCI method. It breakdown of it's still weighted on 100 possible points. However, it only uses 6 metrics. The one missing here is obviously the functional growth. So in total, performance again is worth 20 points. 35% again is still worth on that technical capability, with the final 45% is as before on the ability to customer success. It's not a mistake that we've got rid of the functional growth here, because we see that within those addressing that small, medium or mid-market area, you need a lot more flexibility. You're not necessarily growing functional consultants to 15 and more. You probably have a much more diverse set of partner requirements. So you can get exam certification there for Business Central. You get certifications around F&O and CE. All of them count towards that metric, and it's a sliding scale of up to 30 consultants. So it allows sort of to have a bit more flexibility in building that together of how you want to offer it. So again, showing the metric there to get 83 points, same 60 and 80 to gold and silver, but each month your individual PCIs are tallied and you'll be provided a total score. So again, this is really driving you to start looking at that month by month basis of where are you on your journey with PCI. No longer can you wait to the end of the month. And to enable you to do that, you can start in your partner center. It's how the partners actually, how you see your PCI score. This is a screenshot of a partner is under your MPN, so you need to make sure you've got the right role-based access in Partner Center to see them. There are 2 PCI scores for functional consultant, for F&O and customer engagement. The SMB one will be seen under the small and mid-market competency. So there's 3 areas. In this particular case, you can see they've scored 10 points because they've got $13.8 million worth of users. Obviously, they've maxed out because the threshold here was $300,000. So 10 points, that's it. However, they've only scored 5 points functional consultants, so they cannot score. You see, it's blanked out the functional growth. To help you more understand all of this, because I realise that's quite a rush through all of that. Here are some values. So PCI score linked to your partner center. aka.ms PCI doc is where all the documentation are on PCI, telling you the metrics and explaining. You can download a PDF that shows you which markets are developed or developing. You can also visit the PCI Learn area. There's in-depth resources, so videos, sort of bite-sized videos, like 5-10 minutes on each area. And if any questions, you can raise those directly through your partner center. As the PCI team sit behind there, are very interesting to get that feedback through. So recommended course of action is if you start reviewing those today, because the scores are all active now. When it goes live in April, and then whenever your new renewal date is. One thing I add before I finish is that I talked about that baseline being taken on the 1st of October 2020 for the functional consultants. it is retaken when you renew. So when you next renew, you can help plan your technical journey out, which is, I leave this back to Sandra. When you renew, you set your goal. If you don't have 15 functional consultants when you renew, the functional growth will be locked out again for an whole year. So helps with your planning as we go into Sandra talking about the skills required. That's something to bear in mind. That's me. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you, Andrew. So let me get my presentation up. Okay. There's some echo. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so this is a summarized version of what Andrew's just explained and the way PCI points are attributed. So you've got the 7 criteria that were just described. They all have a certain amount of points against them, and they are divided in 3 categories that Andrew described. So performance, capability, and customer success. We will now do a deep dive into the capability metrics, and we'll tell you everything you need to know about which certification exams you need in order to reach the maximum amount of points in the functional consultant and developer criteria. These are the exams that you need in order to get competencies based on your solution of choice. So let's start with customer engagement on the left side. With the functional consultant metric. So for the functional consultant side, you can get up to 15 points, which you
Sandra,
will
sorry
get.
to interrupt you. I think it might be me, but I'm still on the PCI point system summary slide. Andrew, can you see the other one? Yeah, someone else is saying they don't see your slide either.
Okay,
I see this one.
You see it. Okay, let me reshare if not everyone is seeing it. Thank you, Elena, for. Okay, and let's start over. All right, now can everyone see capability, functional consultant, and developer?
It's coming up.
Okay, brilliant. I'm seeing some people. Okay, yes, thank you very much. Right, so functional consultant points for customer engagement. So you will be able to get up to 15 points in this category, 1 point per certified consultant. And in order to give you 1 point, each consultant will need to take 2 different certification exams. The first one is PL200, Power Platform Functional Consultant. And the second one will be any one of the following 4. So they can choose between MB210 Dynamics 365 Sales, MB220 Dynamics 365 Marketing, MB230 Dynamics 365 Customer Service, or MB240 Dynamics 365 Field Service. It's worth noting as well that not everyone needs to take the same out of these 4 exams to give you a point. So you can have people divided between different certifications based on the solutions that you need them to deliver. I see someone who still can't see the exams, so you may be able to navigate through the presentation yourself with this type of sharing. So maybe try this. And worst case scenario, we're going to be sending the recording and the presentation later on. So hopefully this will help.
Yes, at the top there are arrows, and you can move between the slides, so you can move to slide 5, etc. as needed.
Okay, so moving on to the developer criteria for customer engagement. In this one, you can get up to 5 points by having 5 people take 1 exam, which is PL400, Microsoft Power Apps Developer. Now moving on to finance and operations. So it's the same thing, but with different exams. On functional consultant side, you can get up to 15 points by getting 15 functional consultants certified. They will all need to take the MB300 exam, Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Core. And after that, they'll be able to choose between 3 other exams, which are MB310 Dynamics 365 Finance, MB320 Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management Manufacturing, or MB330 Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. On the developer side, unlike with C, you will need 2 exams to get the points. The first one is MB300, so the same as the functional side one, Dynamics 365 F&O Core, and then MB500, Dynamics 365 F&O Apps Developer. It is worth noting at this stage as well that if you're targeting an SMB competency that Andrew just talked about, instead of MB500, you can also take the MB700 exam, Dynamics 365 F&O Apps Solution Architect. And if you're also targeting SMB, another thing is that you can get the functional consultant points with the MB800 certification, which is Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central Functional Consultant. Now we're going to show you the training journey that we recommend following if you're looking to get from 0 to maximum points in the functional consultant and developer criteria, focusing on C and F&O just because the BC part is very simple. It's literally just MB800. And the reason why we want to show you all that is because in our recent conversations with partners, we've actually had a few requests like that of people who are transitioning into Microsoft Business Applications or people who are onboarding a number of new consultants at the same time, and they just want to get people from 0 knowledge to being able to have those certifications that will support you to get your PCI points. So just notice, just worth noting as well that if you need to train everyone, it's worth training the functional consultants and developers at the same time because there are shared topics between each of the tracks, and so that will save you time and effort to do it this way. So the first thing that you will need to do is take people through fundamentals training. The fundamentals training does not give you any points for PCI, but if you're training people who are completely new, they will need to get through those courses in order to get the knowledge to take the other certifications that you actually need. So for fundamental trainings, we recommend first going through PL 900, Microsoft Power Platform Fundamentals, regardless of the area of choice that you want to be certified for. And then after that, on the CE side, you can take MB 910 Microsoft Dynamics 365 Fundamentals. And on the F&O side, you can take MB 920, the first one, Fundamentals for Customer Engagement, and then MB 920, which is Dynamics 365 Fundamentals for Finance and Operations. And now, you may choose not to actually take the certification exam because, again, it does not count towards PCI, but we really do recommend going for the training so that you acquire the knowledge in order to be able to take the next courses. So the next ones are what we're calling core solution training, and it's the first exam that counts towards your PCI points. So on the C side, it's the PL 200 that we've discussed. And on the F&O side is the MB 300. Next, you will go into your specialization training for functional consultants. So this is the part where there's 4 exams to choose from on the CE side. I'm not going to list them again because we just did. And 3 exams to choose from on the F&O side. Again, worth noting, it's important to do it in this order just because, especially for F&O, the knowledge taught in these specialized courses builds on the knowledge you will learn in MB 300. And finally, you can go through your specialization training for developers. On the CE side, this means taking the PL 400 exam. And on the FNO side, it means taking the MB 500 exam. A few additional online resources that complement what Andrew showed earlier. So these are things we recommend looking through if you would like a bit more information about Microsoft PCI or to dig deeper into certain areas. The first one is the Microsoft Docs page called PCI for Cloud Business Applications Competency. So it's the overall main part of PCI, and it's got in writing everything that we've just showed you with some links to interesting resources. The second one is the PCI page for small and mid-market cloud solution competency. And the third one is Microsoft Learn, which is something we really recommend bookmarking and going to regularly because it has everything you need to know about certifications for a start. So every certification exam that's available, the skill outline for how knowledge is going to be measured in the exam. And also it's the place where you can book your exams, and there's a lot of free learning resources that you can use to start getting the knowledge you'll need in order to get your certifications. Now, we would also like to do a little bit more, because even with everything that we've just shared, it can still be a time-consuming task to work your way through who on your team needs to get certified, how best to get them trained. So we'd like to offer everyone on this webinar a free PCI consultation where Elena Baeva, the CEO of 365 Talent Portal, and myself will discuss your competency goals and targets, assess your training and exam needs, and recommend a training strategy to get to your goals in terms of capability points. So it's completely no strings attached. It's just to take you through all of that and help you have a solid plan. Elena and I have a lot of combined experience advising partners in the Microsoft space. And particularly over the past few months, we supported several large partners who were specifically looking to get PCI ready from the capability standpoint. So we'd now love to share this experience and support more partners. If you would like to register to this consultation, check your mailbox. We're going to, in a few minutes, send an email to everyone in the webinar with a link that you can follow in order to book your consultation. And also in the next few days, we're going to be sending this presentation alongside with the webinar recording. And as you see, there's a link here, so you'll be able to book this way. We'd also like to say a few words about the training services we offer for anyone on the call who's already identified some of their upskilling needs. So as mentioned earlier, we cover all of Microsoft business applications, including Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. And we also have excellent MCTs on Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365. In terms of delivery format, we can deliver private sessions to you virtually, where you can pick your own topics and your own days and your own times. And we also have an open schedule with courses you can register to. That's particularly useful if you only have 1 or 2 people on your team that you need to train. We deliver mostly Microsoft official courseware, though if you need training that's not yet covered by Microsoft content, or you need something really specific for your team, then we also can create customized training courses for you. And we'd also like to mention a special offer we currently have on 2 courses. We're offering a 20% discount on MB300 Finance and Operations Core and MB310 Dynamics 365 Finance. The MB310 will take place between March 15 and March 18, and the MB310 between March 22 and 26. They're both delivered virtually. We're telling you this because any consultants who get these 2 certifications will meet the functional consultant exam requirement for FNO. So this is an opportunity to get your consultant ready to meet PCI requirements within just 2 weeks of time and right before April. We have several other courses on our March and April schedule, which are relevant to PCI. Specifically for customer engagement, we're also going to be running PL 200 at the end of March and MB 230 mid-April. So that covers your functional consultant criteria for customer engagement. If you'd like the details, again, we're going to be sending you this presentation. So you're going to be able to follow the link to our training course offering and see what's available. Now, we can move on to the Q&A part of this session. So there's a first question already, so I'll answer that in a minute, but anyone who has questions, please type them in the chat and we will answer them for you. So Richard asked if MB200 is just as good as PL200. So PL200 is actually the new version of MB200. So do not go for MB200 anymore, it is expiring. PL200 is the new one, and it's covering a similar set of skills. Are there any other questions?
I'll ask a question while Steve is typing.
Okay.
And that's probably for Andrew, because Andrew, you presented the new SMB competency, and there are lots of questions out there that we hear from the partners. So it's great to hear that you can have 30 points instead of 15 from the competencies. So does it mean the partners need to get twice as many people to go through exams for the SMB competencies, or do you get more points per person?
No, it's twice as many people. So what they've done, they've removed the need for the functional growth, which was the 0 or 15 points, to now allow you to have that sliding scale up to 0 to 30 across all disciplines, whether it's a F&O functional consultant, a CE functional consultant in any of those specialities, as well as the MB800 Business Central functional consultant. So you can score 22 points if you've got 22 consultants, 27, etc. So the idea is it's probably more flexible for the SMB arena than it is for the sort of the CBA, F&O and CE, because they have that restriction, that functional growth element.
And how would you consult partners whether to go for the SMB or the other competencies? Is it just purely based on whether they've got 15 people? Is that the main differentiator?
Yeah, I mean, what for me in consulting, it means I pay a lot of attention to my partners and their skilling. Part of my role is all around skills enablement, making sure that they have skills plan in place, working with obviously it's a good thing to have an investment in your people. So we look at make sure where they are, if they're not near 15 or if they're beyond 15, working out throughout the year now that the functional growth piece needs you to grow by 35% if you only got 15, for example, working out who's going to do the next one, where's that going to come from, advising on whether they need to implement those apprentice stroke graduate programs, working with the likes of yourselves on the enterprise skilling initiative that we have. All these sort of things I talk to my partners about to help them keep on top of it and not just as before. It was always get to the end of the year, have we got everything, tick, and it was always a sort of 11th hour, you know, like the 1 minute to midnight type appreciation that, oh, we need to suddenly put all these people through exams. With PCI, we can now sort of spread it out over the year, have a more measured and controlled conversation, so they can actually plan it in around, to be fair, doing the business. You know, the partners have got a lot of customers out there that needs to be serviced. They don't, and it's a very fine line to balance all the training with actually going out there and delivering solutions and that. So hopefully that this metric, because it's being updated and reviewed by month, you can actually see and plan much better.
Thank you, Andrew. There's some other questions if you wanted to go through that.
Yeah, so I see Lizette asking about a client implementing project operation, which are including both F&O and CE, and are there any ways to be certified in that area? So my first thinking is you would need to get certified both in F&O and CE. Andrew, do you agree?
Yes. So when I talked about the fast track implementations, that they look at if it's across both F&O and CE, they like to make sure you've got both areas of the competency. What Sandra nicely listed, the MB 210, 220, 230, and the 310, 320, 330. So that's not the end of those. We're adding more upcoming. So there are more exams to come around areas. I don't know exactly what the time frame for those are, but they're looking at ones for like a commerce certification for functional consultant that works in commerce. I don't know if there's a specific one on project operations at this point, so you'll only be looking at making sure you've got the one that's most appropriate in the CE and F&O space.
Okay, and I see so Richard saying the capability functional consultant growth seems a little confusing.
Yeah, it is. So basically, Richard, think of it this way. If you do not have 15 functional consultants at the renewal date of your competency, you cannot gain those 15 points. You have no way of accessing that part of the metric. So that means you'll only ever score up maximum of 85 points. If you do have 15 functional consultants, and I'm basing this on a developed partner, which means you're selling in the UK. If you do have 15 functional consultants, then you need to make sure between the time that you renew and your next renewal date, say if you renew in June 2021, let's make it July 2021, so avoid any COVID confusion. And your next, and you grow by the time you renew in July 2022, if you have not managed to do that functional growth, then you do not get the 15 points. If you have during that year, then you'll get those 15 points. I'll answer Lizette's, and back to another of Richard's questions was about the PCI score will only update once a month currently in Partner Centre. Currently we're looking and we have fed that back to engineering to hopefully feed it and update it quicker, because obviously it's a now key view into the business and how you're doing. So we're looking to improve that. But at the moment, they're normally updated is for the third week of the month after for the preceding month. So if you wanted January's figures, they were updated just last week in February. So that's roughly you're a month out on that sense. Yes, it is. I agree, Richard. A month is out of date is not great, but on the basis that sometimes you will something like 90 days or even more out the space, it's a big improvement of what we had, and obviously it can be improved, and we're looking to improve that to give us a more up-to-date view as we can, but it takes time to run through all our systems, sign off, etc.
And yeah, the questions, you can unmute yourself if it's easier for you to ask the question instead of typing.
I'm not certain that it's actually possible with the setup that we've had.
Okay.
I think can you unmute the attendees, Sandra?
Let me have a look. There does not seem to be an option for me to do that. No.
I can do it individually by if you go and click allow to unmute, if someone wants to ask a question, we can unmute them. Hidden functionality in Teams.
I don't see it.
Don't you? If you'd like to ask a question or ask a question, I can unmute you then.
All right. So if you'd like to be unmuted, just raise your hand and Andrew will expertly unmute you.
Lizette, to answer your comment about sounds expensive around the PC functional consultant growth, it is an area that we're looking at, and it is focused to the highest levels, because it is as I said, it's a very fine line between you being able to go and deliver the business and do all these certifications. So it's been reviewed. Okay, should be able to unmute now, I think.
Yeah, I found it. So yes, okay. Richard, you can unmute.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate you unmuting me. So when I look at my PCI score, right, and I'm looking at my functional consultants, capabilities, etc., and developers, I try to dissect that by going into the competency area and actually downloading the skills report, where I should hypothetically see that report directly correlate to the actual PCI score, right? I'm seeing some discrepancies there when I try to correlate that information. Any tips on or things that are just not adding up?
Yeah. So first thing I'd always check is to make sure your staff are properly associating with you as a partner through the partner center. So we found a lot of people don't necessarily associate correctly, so they're not actually being seen as a member of your team, which is sometimes an issue when you're obviously trying to get a metric that measures it. I'll also, one of my colleagues has developed if I'll just put this in the link in the chat. He's developed a skills plan because obviously reading that skills report from Partner Centre is not the best. Get the right line, skills. So, and he's developed a PCI or Power BI desktop. Oh, sorry, Power BI report that you can download and plug in.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. Thank you. So, as an example, right, you know, I see I've got 4 developers in CE, but when I actually go through and look for all of the consultants that I have with, let's say, PL 400, which should be the developer cert, I only see 1, right? You know, and as another illustrative example, you know, when I look at my functional consultants, it says, hey, you've got 3 points there, you've got 3 functional consultants. But when I go through and dissect my list to see how many folks have got, let's say, like PL 200 plus an MB to something or other, I'm actually seeing I've got 4 people. So, you know, I'm trying to correlate between the numbers to see if it all adds up, and it doesn't always add up.
Yeah. So that link there, it's aka.ms/skills-plan, or one link. For some reason, Teams is cutting off the -plan. And then if you look to the skills report, it shows you how you just download the export from your Partner Centre, the CSV, download the Power BI template, and then all the instructions there, you then just push it back into that Power, and it shows you like 4 tabs. One of them is, you know, which, I mean, because of PII, I can't see it, but it shows you who's associated with your Partner Centre correctly, activity on the exams. But on the second page, it shows you a nice heat map, if you like, who's got what certification, and then you can click on, this is the competency that I'm interested in. So it works not just for any biz apps, it works for all the Azure competencies as well. Click on that, a competency that you want to see, and you can see which members of your staff are contributing to that competency. So you can track both ways. Hopefully it makes the Excel spreadsheet a bit more viewable.
That is extraordinarily helpful. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
He should sell that. I would buy it.
my colleague Tegan, who built that, it came when he joined Microsoft about 2 years ago. He came from a background of data visualization, and the first thing he did when we just get him to do Power BI reports for us now, because that he just comes up with these beautiful examples. Another one is, I suppose, hopefully I'll just check it's running. There's a thing called CertComp. I don't know if we've shared that in the past. Is another. So yeah, it's still working. This, and this is a sort of one that tells you all about which competency, which exams, when the exam, and links directly to the MS Learn and exam pages. Extra Learning tells you links to the learning blog. It will also tell you advanced specializations, and then you can click on a, say, cloud business applications competency. It will tell you what learning resources are, what exams, etc. So it does a lot of, makes it a lot easier for you to plan in, you know, what exams you need for certain competencies. That's another useful link that may be useful for you.
Oh, that's great too. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
It's quite all right.
Worth the price of admission alone.
Does anyone else have questions or comments? No? Okay, so it looks like we are done for now, 5 minutes early. Thank you so much for joining the webinar. It was lovely to have you. And as mentioned before, we are going to be sharing the presentation and the recording within the next few days if you would like to get back to it.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day, and we'll be in touch soon.
And you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.